So today I'm going to be talking about this topic of self-worth, self-esteem, whatever you want to call it, but here's why. Because the biggest thing that people say to me is, I have that feeling that I'm not good enough for this, or I'm not ready for this, or I'm not confident in this. It's just this sense that comes up, which is saying, hey, this is, I'm not ready. I'm not okay to do this. And here's the thing, usually it's coming from these patterns that come up through our mind, the psychological thing that we have up here, which is saying, hey, you're not okay. You're not ready for this. You can't do this. This is dangerous. All of those things shouting at us. And sometimes we don't even know that it's there. It's just a sense feeling. It's like our bodies actually tense up. That happened for me. Just to share, this happened for me. All of this stuff I'm talking about. I used to feel this fight or flight response constantly. And I thought it was this thing called, anxiety. That is a thing. But that is what's happening further down the line. Before that, it's this sense of it's not safe or it's not okay to be me. This is where it gets deep. This is where it gets deep and a lot of people get lost. I think mostly everyone. So we're all in this together, but sometimes it can limit a lot of our lives. For example, when I wanted to go traveling, it took me 2 years or 3 actually to decide. Looking at other people on YouTube saying, oh, this person's cool. I'm not like that. Or what would people say if I went traveling? It's this worry about other people's opinions. Again, natural, because we are humans who work in clans. But here's the thing. We did work in clans, but we are individuals who have this potential now in this age to do things differently. We're in different times. We're not in clans. We got more potential now. We're more aware of things. So don't let all of this nonsense. People say to me sometimes, yeah, we got this reptilian brain, Raj, and they go into this science mode, the neuroscience. Yeah, I know the neuroscience. I know how our brains work. I went down this path a long time ago, and I used that as an excuse. That's why I'm saying be careful with this knowledge that you have of our brains, scientific knowledge. Because yes, we do have a brain that is that fight or flight response. Yes, danger. And it's great because if I was crossing the road, I want to know that something in my brain is going to help me to to know that I'm not going to get run over by a car, or that if there is a dinosaur or a tiger, my body knows to create the right adrenaline response and run, get away from that thing. So these things are useful, fight or flight. But here's the thing. It's not meant to be there in mental situations, but our minds think that we are under danger. So that's what happens. Our minds think that there is a tiger here to attack me. This public speaking, this talking to this person, this doing this thing, this business thing, this going and doing this adventurous thing, anything that's new, anything that we haven't done before is uncomfortable. Yes, I'm 100% sure that everyone experiences this, but varying degrees. You don't have to accept this and say, yeah, we are reptilian brain nonsense. We have the ability as humans, that's why we're not a reptile, right? Because we evolved. So don't use this reptilian brain nonsense as an excuse, because I did that for a long time and that kept me stuck. Finding excuses, finding reasons, being a victim. Oh, I'm a victim of this physical thing. I can't control it. No, yes, you can control it. You can control all of this. You can master this. That's probably a better word. Control can sometimes be anxiety provoking as well. When you feel like I'm out of control, like the whole reason for this topic of self-esteem is I want to be in control. I want to be here and be able to know that everything is going to turn out okay. Be safe in myself. Here's what's usually going on underneath the surface. Yeah, like I mentioned, I'm not good enough comes up. Maybe because sometime in the past when you were smaller, you had some experiences as a child that created this belief of I'm not good enough. Imagine this child was nurtured in the most perfect way. There was no limitation. Nobody said anything to them. Then maybe they wouldn't have this thing. Maybe. But most children, to some extent, have these situations where they're feeling like it's wrong to be them. So they have to adjust. They have to adjust their behaviors to get into a more safe place. If a parent says something to you and tells you off and it becomes constant, the parent is the God to the child. So the child would say, okay, wow, something is wrong with me. I've got to change. I've got to change because this God has told me to. Parents are your hero. You're going to listen to them. You're going to make them happy. So what happens is we spend our lives making people happy, trying to fit in, trying to be in this zone of acceptance. So that's where all of this stuff usually comes from. This zone of acceptance, which we have created. It wasn't there when we were born. It's created through experiences. So now you're probably saying, okay, yeah, great, Raj, now what do I do? This is what I like to do. I'm not here just to give people the whys and the information so they stay stuck. That's all nice and fluffy and cute. And it makes you feel good. Oh yeah, I understand myself. But now what do you do? Well, like I said, you're not born with this stuff. So firstly, tapping into that presence and that truest self that is not believing the mind, let's call it. So when people go and sit and meditate, they find it so difficult because the mind's telling them to do stuff. That's why it's so hard. So if you're doing stuff like getting present and hearing your thoughts and sensations and urges and feeling uncomfortable, because it's uncomfortable to go and sit down and do nothing, right? Especially for beginners. If you're able to do that, you're going to build your ability to see beyond the mind. That's really where you get out of this I'm not good enough thing. But also, you have to take some action. I'm sorry, you have to. You can't just try and find this, I call it a healing fantasy. A healing fantasy that, yeah, someday I'm going to be fixed. And there's this fixed thing. I need to fix something because something's wrong with me. Nothing's wrong. It's just like I said, some beliefs were collected. But when you were born, everything was fine. So that part is still there. It's not like something's been broken or changed. You've just taken on habits and habits that are really concreted. So they become an identity, a belief. So when people say this thing about I'm not good enough and have low self-esteem, first thing I do with them is help them to become present and aware, raise your awareness to it. But also learning about yourself, learning right now, what do I enjoy and what is most important to me in life? This is where the change happens because let's say you know these things that mean a lot to me. These things make me feel alive. Here's these moments where I am not even thinking. I just feel great. Imagine you're doing more of that. And I'm not talking about these temporary buzzes or highs. I'm not talking about distractions. I'm not talking about going and binging on some ice cream or going to lift some heavy weights. I did that. I did that and it felt great. But it wasn't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what lights you up inside, that fire that makes you know that you're alive. The joy, the gratitude for life. That's one thing you can do. You can every day tap into gratitude for your life because everyone has something. If you complain about, okay, my clothes are scruffy, my shoes are scruffy, I hate my shoes, and then you meet a man with no legs, you're going to feel pretty grateful, aren't you? Because it doesn't matter if your shoes are scruffy. You've got legs. This man doesn't. So tap into that each day. Even if just say one thing. I'm grateful for this one thing. I have legs. So that's one way to build this other mode. Because I'm saying other mode because these limitations of I'm not good enough, these are thinking based, psychological based. I'm talking about this mode, which is you're really existing, you're here, and you know the power of yourself and your life. So gratitude is one thing. Number two is getting out of yourself, doing something like compassion. And this has become popular these days. Buddhists knew about this for a while, Hindus as well, but now it's become popular. Do something compassion-based. Feel someone else's shoes. There's meditations you can do to do this, or you can just really connect with someone. But yeah, look up compassion. That's huge. For me, it was personally great because when it's all about me and I'm worried about this, am I good enough? Is this good enough? And is it all going to turn out okay? It's just being in my own echo chamber. Compassion allows you to connect with others. And really, it sets you free. Because this feeling of being connected to others, that takes you out of this psychological me mind, the self, they call it. You're out of it. So those are a few things. And here's the other thing. When I said earlier, take some action. If you think you are not good enough, what does that really mean? How do you measure that? Is that saying you are not good enough against me? Or what sometimes happens is, are you measuring against some other thing or something else? So if you think that I'm not good enough, just measure against yourself. If you're holding off from doing something that you want to do, let's say you want to write a book and you say, I'm not good enough because I've read J.K. Rowling. That doesn't matter because it doesn't matter what you're going to do. You're not going to become that good within a day. It doesn't matter. Everything has to be in steps. If you realize and you own your life, instead of being this victim, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I feel so bad about myself. That doesn't help you. That's saying I am not good enough. That's claiming that that's permanent. You're forgetting that you can reinvent yourself. You can create this self. Here's why. Let me put it in the simplest way. You go to the gym and you can lose some weight, right? You can do that. It's something you can do. Or let's say you go to the gym and you can build a little muscle. Maybe you can lift this weight and then after a few months you can lift a heavier weight. Maybe you see a change in your body. That's simple stuff, right? So you're reinventing, you're creating something there. It's the same with this muscle of self-esteem, self-acceptance. It's doing stuff. If a kid was trying to learn to ride a bike and he said, oh, I don't know, I've never done this before, so I'm not sure. would you entertain that kid? Would you say, yeah, I know how you feel? No, you would help them to try it. You'd say, no, just try it. And you think, okay, because they're a kid, they can learn quickly. Yeah, sure they can, because they're unmuddied by less impressions of the past. That's all. They're growing in their neurological connections quicker. That's all. It doesn't mean because you're an adult, you can't do that. It just means that you are, yes, your mind might challenge you a bit more because you're believing it. You're believing all these things, but you still have the same ability to create and learn, 100%. It's just like there's just this fog in the way. You just got to clear the fog. Clear the fog by becoming present, or don't even clear the fog. Just do something while being in this fog. Because you realize most of the time when you do stuff, so many people have said to me, they're like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought. You know that saying that comes up? How many times have you heard that saying within yourself or someone else? It wasn't as bad as I thought. It's never usually as bad as you thought. Because the thought doesn't know what's going to happen. It's just trying to guess and predict. So how could it be as bad as you thought? You see, this is other mode of operating. It's our real presence. It's our creative energy. Doing stuff, learning, actions. So if you want to write a book, you have to do something. You have to do something bit by bit. And then after a year, maybe you will be an amazing writer. I don't know. It depends how much time you put into it. It depends how much you're enjoying it. Maybe you decide, I don't even want to write. But now at least you know, you've got wisdom. You've tried it. Or maybe within a few months, you're like, wow, I'm really a natural at this. This is so fun. This is enjoyable. I'm going to get started on my book. So there you go. The process has begun. I know I'm not really good at the beginning. You accept that. You accept that just like a child who's learning to ride a bike, just like anyone who's learning anything. Look at that ukulele in the background. Do you know why I bought that? I didn't buy it because I wanted to learn an instrument. Yeah, there was a thought that came up which said, oh, I've never really learned an instrument. I'd love to, but it's not important to me. But I bought that, like I said, not to learn an instrument. I bought that to feel the feeling of discomfort. I'm speaking to people about all this stuff, starting to do meditation, starting to do this, I don't know, health journeys. I bought that to remind myself, because every time I pick it up, I'm terrible. And I don't like that feeling. I'm so terrible, but I'm enjoying the learning process. Even just hitting one note, it feels great. It feels like fun. Wow, I've learned how to do this one thing. And then I said this one thing to a musician, right? I was messaging a few musicians at the time because I was trying to learn about how creative minds work. And I said to them, what my experience has been in the first 3 days I had that ukulele. I said to them, it feels like, this is the summary. It's not as bad as I thought, but it's not as easy as I thought either. And the reason why I say that is because I started to play a few chords and even a song. And I was like, wow, it's not as hard as I thought. But then I realized, like, wow, there's so much potential in this. And to do the stuff that looks very cool, yeah, it's not as easy as I thought either. So that was a great insight. And that's something that I'd say is very important. And the only reason I know that there is other potential with the ukulele is because I've seen other people do it. I've seen what people can do with this instrument. I've seen the potential. So I realized, wow, I'm so far from that. But that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm just enjoying this little win, realizing it's not as hard as I thought. It's like if I said to someone, go and learn to meditate. Sometimes they say things like, it's really hard. I just don't know if I'm this type of person. Well, how about you try it for a few months, then tell me. You don't know what you're saying right now. You're saying that you're evaluating this based on limited experience. No, try this for a month, then tell me. Because you give yourself some time. So if you think you are not good enough, and that's coming from your mind, that's okay. Let that be there. That's fine. You don't have to go and get a psychologist to help you sort that out. You don't have to. You can, and it's helped me a bit to learn about myself and find acceptance in the past and knowing my limitations from my mind anyway, knowing my perceived limitations, let's call it, which is that I'm not good enough, is being useful for me to understand where that came from. Yes, some memories when I was younger, fine, great. I understand, it feels great, but it doesn't change anything. Changing things and actually getting progress is when you have to take action. You have to do some stuff. Because then you can change this thing of I'm not good enough. You know, you become better than it now, is what I'm trying to say. Understanding why you think this stuff, okay, yeah, I understand it, great. If you really want to be liberated from it, you take action and you prove to your mind, hey, you know, you might be saying this, but look, I've just done something which proved it wrong. This is what I've tried to say to people. Build your case. Like imagine you're in a courtroom and there's the lawyer who's saying, yeah, you're not good enough because remember this, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. And he's got 100 pieces of paper to prove it. Your job is simply to build a case against that. Build a case against what he's saying. So now you have another lawyer, which is created by your actions and your wisdom you've gained from doing the stuff that feels uncomfortable, from going and doing the stuff that your mind is saying, no, don't do this because you're not good enough. You build a case. Now you start building these papers up. Sometimes these papers are, even if you have like 5 of them, they're more powerful than the evidence that is telling you not to. So now the judge is going to listen. The judge is you. He's going to listen and say, yeah, you know what? This is great because now I've proven this is not really true anymore right now. And I see the potential in the future. Like I said with my ukulele, imagine I practiced every day for an hour. Imagine 10 years later, I'll be an awesome ukulele player. So I see the potential as well. So if you are having challenges with this self-esteem stuff, presence to calm down the mind and the body, because I know there's physical reactions. Yes, I understand that. It's very painful and it doesn't feel good. So calm your body down, calm your mind down, put the right things in your body. That's important as well. That's a whole nother topic, but yeah, just look after your body, breathe, do stuff that calms you down. That will help you in the moment to get present. But then sometimes it's useful to go into the past to understand stuff a little bit, just to get acceptance, basically, to understand why this is happening. Not to go deep into that analysis, paralysis, psychologist stuff. You can if you want, it might be useful, but yeah, just understand it and accept it. Like if you were shot with an arrow, this is what the Buddhists say, if you're shot with an arrow, you're not going to go and say, you're not going to initially turn around and say, who did that? You're going to feel that pain and then you're going to pull it out. So feel the pain in the presence. And then you got to pull it out by letting it go. Letting it go and realizing that this is not your truest potential. So that's presence and that's understanding the past a little bit. Just understanding how the past affects you now is what I'm trying to say. Understanding the patterns that are going on now. When you have this tension coming up, yeah, I'm feeling this tension right now. This thought is coming up that I'm not good enough. Maybe this happened because of this behavior from my past. This is happening right now. And then moving forward by taking action and building the case, like I said. Even if it feels hard, you got to do this. It's the only way you're going to really liberate yourself. And it's the best way, I think. Because we like to evolve as humans. We like to grow. That's what we're doing here. We have this thing of we want to get better at stuff. And we want to feel okay at the same time. We want to move forward, but we want to feel okay in the present. So do those two things simultaneously. And you can, by the way. Some people say to me, how can you do that? You can. You just have a vision. You have things you want to work towards, like the ukulele thing. Again, maybe I'm not saying I am going to do this, but maybe imagine I wanted to be a great ukulele player. I will look at what it takes to do that. I will say, I want to be doing this kind of ukulele playing in the future. I'll imagine someone who's famous, perhaps. Not even what they're doing, just their skill and their ability with the ukulele, let's say. So I want to have this skill and ability. So now, every day I'm going to do this. And that's all. I have a vision and I have a now. But really, I'm doing everything in the now. This vision is just like a compass. It's like I have a little compass saying, I want to go in north. That's all. But I'm okay if it doesn't get there. I'm okay with whatever. I'm just going to do the thing right now. Work on what makes me feel good, what gives me purpose. Purpose is another topic as well. If you have some purpose, and this can get like a challenging topic, to be honest. People think I need to figure out why I'm here on this earth. What was I put here for? And then that stops them from doing stuff. So don't get caught up on this thing because it can become a trap. For me, purpose can evolve over time. You have experiences, you grow, and then maybe you think, I want to go in that direction now. Now I want to go here. Now I want to go here. You don't have to have it right or figured out. But just know that you want to go in some direction and just start doing that right now. That's all that purpose is for me. It's just your present moment awareness and where your attention is going, where your energy is going. That's all. And being okay with that. Saying, yeah, I'm going to do this and this is great. I'm just going to do a few hours a day of this. Now I feel purposeful. I'm using my time on this earth properly. And that's all we want as humans. And that will get you out of all of this stuff to do with self-esteem. For sure, that's what's helped me. Balancing the body, calming it down, becoming present, understanding a little bit about why these patterns are happening in the now, and then taking action, moving forward, and having a purpose. So when I wrap this up, and I hope that was useful for you, if there's any of this that really speaks to you, and I know a lot of people are challenged by this actually, which I didn't know for a while. I thought it was just me. It was just me going through all of these challenges. But if you are, and there's something like one insight that you got from this video, then I'd love to hear. Drop me a message and yeah, just share with me. What did you find useful? What was that moment where you were like, oh, it's definitely me. It's definitely where I'm at right now. And you're wondering like, okay, what do I do now? Yeah, I'll send you some resources. We can have a conversation and we can talk about this as well. So reach out and enjoy. Hope you got something out of this.